Hey everyone, and welcome back to Pageant Live. My name is Nicole Coker, and I'm your host this evening. A little bit about me is that I am a recent graduate of Clemson University with a bachelor's degree in architecture. I also have my very own Live Courageously podcast, and I'm a title holder with USA National Miss. So today I'm with a very special guest, and her name is Alexa Sheryll, and she is the Miss Spirit of New York. Hey Alexa, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Great. So tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm Miss Spirit of New York. I live on Long Island, New York. I work in the political field. I run political campaigns. I just started in pageantry only about a year and a half, 2 years ago, but I've been a pageant fan for a long time. And I'm really glad that I finally kind of took the leap and started doing pageants because it really changed my life. And now I'm the Spirit of New York.
That is so exciting. So, how did your pageant journey begin? Where did it kind of take it from being a fan to actually being a pageant queen?
Yeah, so actually, I really kind of was kind of a closeted fan. I didn't necessarily talk to many people about it. It wasn't like hey, I love the Yankees and I love pageants or anything like that. I started dating my boyfriend and I mentioned it to him as a weird thing. I love to watch pageants in my free time. And he was like, my cousin does them. She was Miss Massachusetts teen. It was so funny. He didn't really exactly know what it was. And he showed me a picture and I was like, oh, that's National American Miss. I just could tell, by the sashes. And he was like, why do you know that? By the sash. He introduced me to her. Me and her just instantly became best friends. She competed for the USA National Miss New York title in 2018. And I went and I saw her. And I was just there. My boyfriend was like, you should do this. And I was like, I can't do this. First of all, I'm plus size. Second of all, I haven't done this my whole life. Whatever. She actually got first runner up. And then the next year, me and her became closer. And, then actually getting to be in the midst of pageant lands, not just watching it on my TV. It was kind of oh, if only I could just go up there and do it, whatever. She just kind of convinced me to do it with her. It was hey, you went there. You saw that I had fun. We'll do it together. For me, it wasn't about winning. For me, it was about her winning. She had gotten first runner up, wanted her to win. And for me, it was all right, go conquer your dreams, go out there and do it. And so I ended up doing it with her and she won. And it was the most incredible thing. And then somehow I won People's Choice.
Yeah.
It was just this crazy thing. I hadn't been campaigning for People's Choice. It was nothing that my parents put in. So we weren't expecting it to happen.
Yeah.
So I was so excited for her to win. I didn't get last place, which was all I cared about. And then they called me for People's Choice. And it was just this unbelievable thing because I had my boyfriend's family there, my family there. I was doing this thing I always wanted to do just to do it. All of a sudden, we didn't think there was any chance I was ever going to nationals and winning or anything like that. We thought we were hoping Caitlin would,
Yeah.
So Caitlin did, then I did, then we got to go together and we got to have the whole year together. It was the most amazing thing. And we got to go to nationals with his family and my family. And so that was just such a blessing. And then I was kind of this will be my one thing and I won't do this again. But then I kind of got stung by the pageant bug and I wanted to do it again. So I really didn't think I was going to after I gave up my crown. And but during my reign I had judged this Spirit Toys for Tots pageant. Okay. And I was oh man, I would really love to be a part of this organization. All the girls were in there to do service. It was all community service driven. And everybody was so nice. And it was in New York. It was a New York based. And I was oh, I'd really love to do this. But I kept being I'm retiring. And then, as the year progressed, and after I gave up my crown, I was I really miss, I have my job and I have my work. But, I'm an adult. I don't get to do many hobbies or things towards my community other than my work. And yes, I can go do community service out in the community, but I just really was like, I really want to be part of the Spirit organization. I really want to do it. So I decided to do it, and I competed, and I worked really hard because I wanted to continue with Spirit, and I was very lucky to a couple weeks ago get crowned the Spirit of New York. So that's the long story short.
Yeah.
That's still long.
That's great. Yeah, actually, I kind of had that, not quite the same experience, but a little bit similar to that, because I was like 17, I want to say, and when because NAM like sends letters in the mail, and I have no clue how they got my address or anything like that. So I got it in the mail one day, and like back then I was so shy. I was like, I don't know about this, but like I really wanted to dress up because like I didn't go anywhere to like dress up. I always did like sports, and I had school and that kind of thing. So I was like, I kind of want to try it. So I went to like the open calls, and ended up was like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna go, and went there. Literally had no clue what the heck I was doing. It was talking about, you know, NAM, it's like, yeah, we want today's girl, like you don't have to worry about makeup and blah blah blah, and like it's true, but at the same time when you get into the pageant world, you're like, right, what, you probably should. Yes. So we went and had we had all of my outfits and everything I needed, but in terms of like doing the face and the hair, we were like way out of our element. So anyway, like I got on stage, and I thought I did pretty well, and I was like, oh, I want to win, but of course I didn't even place. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, you know what, I can do better than that. So went back the next year, ended up placing first runner-up, and I knew exactly why I didn't win, because I was in interview and really didn't know, like at that time I was just there to win. It wasn't about like what is the title going to help me do, what the title is going to help me do for others. Like I didn't have that in my brain because it was my second pageant. I was like, I just want to win. I want to be in California, you know? So I really didn't have that true passion of like, what can I do to help further my community and like all of that. So in interview is where I lost it, because it actually is a funny story, because I did great on all the other questions, but the one question was like, why do you want to win? Or what would you do if you win? And I blew it, like just straight up blew it.
I mean, I get that. I get like when I think about like my first interview, even though it was only 2 years ago, and how just like my motives were different. It was like in there, like answer the question, where like when you go forward, it's all about talking about your platform and talking about like what you actually want to do with it, where they, you know, back then it was like, well, I'm just here because I really love pageants, and I do
exactly. And that's my mindset at the time. And then after I got with USA National Miss and I truly learned what it meant to be a title holder, the game had completely changed. It was crazy. But I understand like not really starting early and thinking like, is this for me? And then once you catch that pageant bug, it's over.
I don't think it'll ever.
No,
I don't think it will ever die now. I mean, like I've always loved it, but now doing it, it's so much more empowering than I ever thought. Like obviously, I loved it, and like from afar, but it's done so much for my self-confidence. I mean, I said before, like, oh, I can't do it, I'm plus size. Like I don't think that way at all anymore, and like I really truly like myself more now that I've done it.
Exactly,
and I'm so much more confident now than I ever was before going into it. It's just crazy how much it changes your perspective on things and just you in general.
Yeah, I totally agree, because back then I would definitely not get on stage and start talking about myself. But now I'm like, yes, sign me up. So great. Okay, so let's back up a little bit. So outside of pageantry, like with your family, I see on the bio that you sent in, like you like to sing. Like what are your passions outside of pageantry? What do you like to do with your family? Just to give our viewers a little bit about who you are.
Sure. So I do love to sing. I sang like my whole life, you know, in school and plays, and I actually started the first co-ed a cappella group at my college. But like since I started my career and graduated college, it's been years since I've been able to really do that as a hobby, or like I can't do community theater. I don't have time for that. So it's really like I love to go do karaoke when I can. I do live across from a place that has like private karaoke rooms. So like that's super exciting for me. I'd like to put on a show if anyone wants to come watch. I like to do that. I love the Yankees. I love baseball. So like this year is like not great for karaoke. It's not great for baseball fans. Exactly. Not great for a lot of that stuff, but I do love to just, I love being around my family, and unfortunately, like my sister, she actually lives in North Carolina, so close to you. But it's we don't get to see each other a lot, and my I live with my boyfriend and my boyfriend's family. They live in Massachusetts, so it's like holidays are a big thing here to be able to, when we get to all kind of get together, because that doesn't necessarily happen a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what I like to do. I mean, to tell you the truth, pageants are what I get to do in my free time. I don't get a lot of time with my career. And a lot of people in my career wouldn't even necessarily take the time to do this, but I try to do it at midnight when I can. You know what I mean? Like the week before, I was pageant prepping till like 1 a.m. I'd like finish work at 10, and then I'd like do a lesson, and then I like my boyfriend would be like working, and there I would be like in my swimsuit walking back and forth. But it's really just like have so much fun with it. And
yeah, I totally agree, because like this is something, like I did sports all my life, so going and doing softball, volleyball, working, like that was my thing. Like I always did that. But now that I was in college and seeing how much time you don't really have to do anything, this was like my vacation from everything else, because I got to prepare for it all year. And then here comes July, let's compete, let's go. And then you always want to have this something to look forward to every year, so you just kind of keep doing it over and over.
Yeah, and I love to do the community service part of it. Like I love to, if I can wake up early on a Sunday and go to the Ronald McDonald House and cook breakfast, like that's awesome. And you'll see, and some of the viewers will see, like once you graduate college and you have a career, like there's just not a lot of time like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Fortunately, with my singing, like that's the one thing I do try to always do when I do pageant, is the talent portion. And like that's my like one time a year now that I can sing a song that's not karaoke, and I feel like I'm back in my glory days.
I really like how pageants can like not only showcase all the community service and stuff that you're doing, but also like help you pursue more of your passions, like singing, because where else would you really get to do that?
Exactly.
All bunched into one.
Yeah, it is perfect.
It is. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your pageant system. So, like, what is it about? It's the title, is there like a national pageant? Like, tell me a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so it is a community service-based pageant, and the cool thing about it is it has the state pageant and the USA system and the international system is all on the same weekend. So like I'll be competing for the USA system next year in August. So I get a full reign. So it is a little complicated, like until you get into it. So there was like, you're giving up your title at the same weekend that you're competing for another title, if that makes sense. Okay. So yes, there is a USA like part that I'll be competing for next year, which I'm really excited for, and I'm like already like stressing about like not having a dress yet, and I'm like, okay, it's a year. It's like literally it's 12 months. But yeah, so it is, that's my favorite part. I know I've said it a bunch of times, but it is really community service based, and it's really a sisterhood, and a lot of the girls have been doing it for years, which is so great. Like you get like with UNM, it's a lot of that too, which is like really awesome, and it really becomes a family. So I'm excited to be the newbie, but join into it. And it's a really positive system. I mean, I always said I would never do a pageant that had a swimsuit portion. Like, I was like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna get up and stand in front of and do a swimsuit. Like, I'm already doing pageants, which is a lot for me. And here I was, a plus size person, and I won my state with doing a pageant. So you can see how positive it is, and really about the work that you're doing and your platform and your confidence. So there's actually like, it's like everything in this pageant. There's swimsuit, runway, gown, interview, and onstage question.
Oh wow,
there's a lot.
That is a lot.
My first time doing swimsuit is my first time doing onstage question. Two things that were terrifying, but like really glad that I did. did them.
That's exciting. So I want to try to understand so that even for like other viewers and everything,
Yeah.
so that you would be competing for like the USA title of your system, but then you said there's also the international going on at the same time. So like,
yeah. So I think this year, I think they're changing the rules. So I can compete for USA and international this year.
okay.
I think this year is the last year that they're doing it this certain way they've been doing it, and I think it's more. I don't want to speak like I 100% know, but this year, I think anyone, like if you're from South Carolina right now and you're watching, you could come in and you can compete for USA and international. So anyone from any state could compete for USA and you could be that representative. But to be from New York, I needed to have won the state to compete for USA. And like it's a lot of New York people because it's a New York pageant. Right, because everything is in New York, so the USA, everything is all up in the capital. But I think this year, even if you were from New York, you can compete for USA and international because last year they're doing it a certain way.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was just trying to understand like how all that works.
I totally didn't like truly understand everything until I was there because but
yeah. Oh man. Okay. So like what has been your favorite thing beyond like community service about your particular system? Like is your sister queens or something along those lines? Like what is something else that you really love to do within your pageant system?
Yeah, so I am new to it, and like when I joined it, COVID hit like 2 weeks later.
Oh,
so all of the one thing I love about it is you have to, as a local title holder, do 6 appearances before you actually compete.
Oh, wow.
For the state. So like you have to be doing it. It's not like I could go into interview and say that I did it, or like some other some other things that you could just like say. You actually have to do it or they take points off.
Oh, wow.
And so I joined and I was like, oh God, COVID has hit. And it was like, I only had a couple months and I was like, so I had to do all of my appearances virtually until like, because then it was in the end of July. So it's very like, there's a social media group, a Facebook group, and everyone's talking. I really loved how everybody was so welcoming of me. Like the minute I came in, I felt like I was part of that family and everyone was so nice. There was no drama or anything like that. And something I really love, the director really wants everyone to be able to be a part of it. So like if you were runner up, you were offered the Empire State title. And if you were second runner up, you were offered Excelsior State. And then even if not, like you could then take back your local title. And because you have to do those community service things, I think it turns it into you're only doing the system if community service is something that you like. And so I think that that's really nice, is that everybody is actually, they're in it because they enjoy helping their community and bettering their community. And I think that that's my favorite part.
That's kind of cool. I have never thought about it that way because I've heard of pageant queens who like, don't really do the work beforehand and then go in. They're like, yeah, I did this or I'm going to do this. But with your system, it's like, okay, you have to do this. Otherwise, your points are not going to be as high as they could be. Even
afterwards, my favorite part is that you don't get all your prizes when you win. You have to do a certain amount of appearances and like you have to do 1 appearance a month. Mm-hmm. And then then you get your prizes like as the year goes on. And if you don't do them, they will take away your title.
Dang.
Right? Doesn't that make you happy? I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm like people are really held accountable, and like everyone in this organization is exceptional because of that. They are really out there helping it. It's not like you hate that. I hate that when you see somebody win and then they did nothing with it and you're like, you could have done so much more. This girl could have done so much more. And here it's like everybody's doing it.
Exactly. That's great. Yeah. I feel like that should be a requirement for any pageant.
Yes.
Wow. So what are some of the appearances that you were able to make during COVID? Because I know a lot of people struggle with that. So how did you overcome that? And then how were you able to help your community virtually?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things is my platform, which I think we'll talk about a little bit in a little bit. But my platform is all about voting local, and there was still elections happening. Like I was still working on one professionally. There was still primaries happening, and I usually would go around and talk to my community and do presentations and things along those lines, voter registration drives, and I couldn't do any of that. And so I really had to think outside of the box of like, hey, what can I do with my platform here? Obviously, like I'm doing stuff with my platform with my actual career every day, but outside of that, so I made a website during COVID for it where I put resources out there like, hey, here's where you can find where, if you're registered to vote, here's where you can find your polling place. Here's where you can find out, you know, what has changed in your state because of COVID and voting rules and things along those lines. So that was an exciting jump for me, something I definitely wanted to do, but, you know, had been so busy, I wasn't able to do it. So I was actually able to, you know, like chill and do that. That was a big one. There was like a virtual 5K that we did. I did a bunch of food drives, and I feel like it was so long. Don't you feel like COVID, like it was like 3 years ago, but it's still happening now, and it was not that long ago. And like in New York, it's still a real thing and everywhere, and I don't know. So, but I would say, yeah, my biggest one was making my platform website. I collected pop tabs for Ronald McDonald's House, and during COVID, obviously everybody was home and they were drinking more soda, and so I had like my whole apartment building giving me some and collecting those, and yeah, it was a lot of things like that, like writing cards and things along those lines.
Yeah, okay. Well, while we're on the topic of your platform, how did you get started? Like, what inspired you to start? Tell us about it.
Okay, sure. So I started actually working in politics when I was 15. I started volunteering, and it's my career now working on campaigns, and I have seen the effects that not voting local has on a community. People think that their vote doesn't matter, and the presidential elections come around every 4 years, and celebrities come out and they make it cool and rock the vote, but people don't realize that there's elections every single year, and there's elections sometimes, you know, there's primaries, you know, there's local primaries and things along those lines that they're not aware of. I have worked on local races, federal races, ballot initiative, statewide campaigns all around the country, and like when I tell you turnout is so low and elections come down to, I literally won one of my elections by 1 vote.
Oh, wow.
And I've lost an election by 35 votes, and people think their vote doesn't matter. So my whole thing is about why, like, it's important to vote local and tell people that, like, hey, like, it, you know, and people don't realize that, you know, the president makes a lot of rules and Congress makes rules and there's a lot of laws out there, but your local legislator, your local assembly person, your state senator, those are the people that are really making a lot of the changes in your community and really affecting the change. And if you want to see change and you want your voice to matter, those are the elections that make the most difference. And like in a presidential year, you know, people are like, oh, well, I live in New York and it's not a swing state and it always goes this way. But you're not realizing all the elections that really do matter and how close these elections are. I mean, in 2017, it was like this wave, right? And everyone came out and voted. But like in my community, it was like the largest turnout ever. It was only 26% turnout. People are still not going out and voting. So I'm out there trying to show people that, like, hey, it's not all about like every 4 years, and your vote does matter. And like, let me give you a prime example. Like, they're going to put on my grave one day that I won an election by 1 vote, because it's all I ever talk about. People to understand that, like, everybody tells me the story about how that was their 1 vote, and it really, like, it can be. So, you know, I like to go around and talk to high schools and colleges, civics group, activist groups, and talk about, you know, how they should get involved in voting local, how they can find out more information about who their local electeds are. And I'm not one to tell anybody who to go vote for, but you should find out like who your local electeds are and what they do and who you think will best represent your community. And you should go vote for them because I swear that it matters.
Yeah, that's so important, especially like for the younger people, because I know sometimes that I'm always like, oh, I don't really know anything about it, so I don't think it matters. So I think there's a lot of people out there who have that mindset. So having someone who actually knows what's going on, knows the real like benefit it can be to actually vote is something that's very important. I think that's really nice that you have this platform and you're so passionate about it, because there's so many that just don't even know anything about it, so they just like, oh, I don't know, so I'm just not going to vote.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with not knowing. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah.
The cool thing about nothing that there's anything cool about COVID. But the one thing about COVID is that everything is now online. There's so many resources online. You want to learn more about your local electeds, it's on there for you to see. You want to know what a town board meeting is like, it's on the internet for you to see. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a great opportunity where people might have a little more time at home to look up before November and see what these other races are and see, when they're going to vote for president, who else that they're voting for and why that's important.
Yeah, that's perfect. Literally perfect. Because I know there's so many that's like, yeah, no. But now that everything's online, like for me, like being a college student, you're like, okay, if it's online, I can just get it done really quickly.
Yeah.
I know it's like super scary going into, the different places where you vote and just not knowing what to do. But having someone who knows and it's like, okay, it's really not that bad. You just have to do this. Like, that's really great. Yeah.
Thanks.
I can't wait to talk to you a little bit more about it on my podcast here soon.
Yes, I'm excited.
Inside scoop on what they can do right now to get ready for their next election, for their state, or presidential election that's coming up soon.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So to round out the interview, I want to do like a lightning round. So cool. Basically, I'm going to just shoot questions at you, and you just have to answer as fast as you can. I have about, I think, 5 or 6 or something like that. You
okay. I'm nervous.
All right. Dog or cat?
Dog, but I've never had any pets.
Favorite food?
Bagels.
Favorite movie?
Mean Girls or A Bronx Tale.
Oh, yeah. Favorite song?
Oh, there's way too many. But right now, Rain on Me.
Oh, yes. I like that one. Grande and Lady Gaga. Favorite color?
My favorite color is yellow, but my favorite color to wear is red.
Ooh, I see that. Favorite vacation spot?
I don't know, I guess Florida, but I'd really like to go to England or Italy.
Okay. And then last one, family dinner or a picnic?
Family dinner.
Okay, cool. Awesome. That was fun.
Yes.
I like your answers. Rain on Me? Oh my gosh. Yes.
I have way too many favorite songs.
Yes.
Like, tell me a genre in a year, like maybe I can give you
something a little more specific between all this. Yeah, I totally get it. So like I said, tell everyone where they can find you on social media, and how they can find you for different voting strategies and all of that good stuff.
Sure. So my Instagram is Alexa_Sheryll, which is spelled weird. It's SHERYLL. And then my Facebook page for my title is Miss Spirit of New York 2021, Alexa Sheryll. And my platform is votelocalwithlex.com. And that has a lot of resources for you, but also you can always check out vote.org. That's going to give you a lot of resources as well.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much for being here. This has been such a great
having me.
Yes, and I cannot wait to see everyone next time. Bye.
Bye.